Hospitals are creepy because so much agony and torment occur there. As a result, it is not surprising that many horrors occur in these areas. With so much tragedy and suffering that occurs there are many incidents that occur that may or may not be disclosed by those who come across these. There are 5 real hospital horror stories that will make your skin crawl and make you wanna hide. Number 1. The Vanishing Girl. I was a new nurse at our hospital. Having been there just a few months, I had brought a patient up to day surgery from the ER for an endoscopy, and they called back down and asked me to bring her family up because she only spoke Italian and not enough English, and they needed someone to consent for the procedure. After dropping them off, I walked the back route to the ER, and the hallways are deserted. It used to be the pediatric wing of the hospital, but that has been closed for years, and the rooms are just empty and full of broken equipment, beds, and garbage. I observed a little girl standing across from the nurse's station further down the hall as I approached the old nurse's station at the T intersection between the pediatric corridor and the hallway that leads to the elevators. She wore a brown outfit, white shoes, and had a teddy bear. I was frightened that she would enter one of the rooms and become injured or disoriented, so I asked her, "Hey little girl, what are you doing? You don't need to be over there, you'll be wounded." I stepped around the nursing station to grab her hand and return her. She vanished as soon as I was around 15 feet away from her. Every hair on my body stood up straight, and I turned and rushed down to the elevator like a bat out of hell. I slammed that button for what felt like an eternity until the elevator arrived. When I returned to the ER, I approached the nurse's station, white as a sheet. One of the older nurses asked, "Holy Christ, what's wrong with you?" I recall talking like a moron as I tried to explain what had happened. After a few moments of listening, the nurse responded, "Well, you saw the little girl ghost. She's been around for a long time." "Well, thanks for telling me about it before this," I said. The ghost has reportedly been observed in the ER, sneaking in and out of patient rooms and peering through curtains. My wife worked on the 7th floor and reported that one night an entire row of patient rooms began yelling about a tiny girl running around in the rooms. Number 2. The Reaper in Purple. I worked as an EMT for a brief time and spent the majority of my time with transfers. I had a regular, an older woman, who I took to dialysis center across town on a regular basis. I was in the back with her when she was relocated one day. She appeared ill, so I inquired as to what was up, and she stated that a man dressed in purple had paid her a visit. She shook her head when I inquired if it was a relative or a technician. She claimed that the man sat next to her during dialysis and stroked her hair. I queried the center techs about this weird visitor, and no one had seen or remembered such a person. Visitors weren't really a thing at this facility, so I figured the patient was hallucinating. So one day, we're on our way to pick her up, and on the way into the parking lot, I see something through the glass that makes my pulse race. It sent shivers up my spine as well, as if I recognized it right away, but I swear to God I saw a man in purple scrubs standing in one of the big windows watching us drive in. And when we pulled out of sight to go to the pickup door, we walked in to see a swarm of techs rushing to my transfer patient. We were unable to help the woman since she had just suffered a heart attack. No one in that place wore purple scrubs. If you're interested to see more of these stories, please hit the like button before we move on to the next one. Number 3. Nurse Betty. When there was a tornado warning, I was working in the NICU. Some nurses were called to a sister hospital in town to help with the disaster plan. When everything was over, one of the nurses returned with the following story. She was aiding the nurses in providing some medicines before bringing everyone into the hallways. Every patient she visited reported they had already received their medications from the friendly nurse in the white outfit and hat. She discovered after she left that a nurse had not worn a cap in quite some time. That story exposed Nurse Betty's urban legend. According to the story, she had an affair with a married doctor, fell pregnant, and then agreed to let him perform an abortion on her on the 2nd floor or room. He was arrested after she died. She never left the hospital and was seen on a regular basis. Every year around Halloween, the local newspaper would run an item on her sightings. College dorms have since taken the place of the hospital. I wonder if any of the students have seen her. Number 4. The Running Water. When I was working at a long-term care home, I was walking down the corridor talking to a CNA when we heard the loud sound of water running in the restroom. When all of the patients were already in bed, I turned to her and asked, "What is that?" We headed to the restroom, which was only accessible by key, unlocked the door and entered. We turned on the lights because they were out. There was no one in the tub, so the water was running full force. I stepped up to the faucet and turned it all the way off till the water stopped flowing. I asked why the water was running when everyone was in bed. According to the CNA, unusual things happen in the bathroom and on the floor all the time, including lights turning on and off and objects moving about or turning on. What's strange is that I heard the water turn on while standing near the bathroom and no one had entered, and the handle had to be turned all the way to the right to turn it off. Number 5. The scene was a bloodbath. Working my typical 7 to 7 night shift with one other nurse in a bone marrow transplant unit. It was around 3:30 a.m. and we had 5 patients. My coworker had just exited room 4, and when she walked around the corner, I startled her. She was emptying a urinal when the bathroom door closed on her, which startled her out and caused her to spill urine on herself. But I digress. She went on to say that there had been a young gentleman in that room who had died a really horrific death. Apparently, this man was scheduled to be discharged, but one night the nurses heard a bang, the sound of someone falling. They hurried into the room and this man was in the bathroom with the central line disconnected and blood all over the place. He was coded, but he died right in the bathroom. Nobody knows why he pulled his line or what happened, but the scene was clearly a bloodbath. Awful, horrible. And now for the scary part. A few weeks later, a sweet little old lady enters that room and inquires of the nurse if anyone has died there. The nurse said that because this is a hospital, someone could have died. "I assume a young guy died in here," the lady says. When the nurse inquires why, the lady says, "Because he's talking to me." I'm not making this up. This lady has a triple lumen central line. As the nurse enters, there is blood everywhere. One of her lines has been cut. Not removed, but cut. The room is free of scissors. The lady says he did it. And those are the top 5 stories for you. Have you ever encountered something like this before? Do you have any other stories about incidents that occurred in a hospital that you've heard? Please share your stories and experiences with us. We would love to hear them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that will keep you up all night long.